All right, this update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Baseball playoff continues today with the Phillies taking on the Braves. Phillies lead that series 1-0. D-backs and Dodgers are the second and only other game of the day after the D-backs blew out the Dodgers in game 1 over the weekend. Other playoff matchups, Rangers, they have a 2-0 lead over the number 1 seed Orioles. The Twins and Astros, they are tied up at a game apiece in their series. Moving over to NFL last night, the 49ers blew out the Cowboys 42-10 to remain undefeated. There's only 2 remaining undefeated teams in the NFL, the Niners and the Eagles. Aztecs, they're back in action this weekend as they take on Hawaii this Saturday, 8 p.m. kickoff, 6 p.m. Pre-game coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Everything you love about Mercedes, the style, the comfort, the tech, the choice is now available in electric. The vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. The choice is all yours. Learn more at mbusa.com/EQ.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour 1 of Jon and Jim, a bit of a short show. We have Raiders football tonight, pregame coverage at 4:45. It's not easy being Jon and Jim on days like this, but we have to go until 4:45. I take one day off, Darnay, and Jim has like a viral moment with Kevin Acee that we're going to get into in a few moments. But Jim, what was that all about? I take a day off and you just steal the spotlight just like that?
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to.
Well, I didn't expect you to ask like good thought out questions and get like good answers from Kevin like that.
You don't expect me to write down some things and have questions prepared beforehand and know where I'm going to go with a guest that I have on the show?
Not really. And if you missed this, we're going to play it back for you in the next handful of minutes. But Darnay, the last time we spoke, did we speak last week? My bad. Were you on last week? I forget.
We did not talk to Darnay last week.
We didn't talk to him last Monday?
No.
Who did we talk to?
Talked to Derek Togerson.
Yeah, like I said, we haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, Darnay. Even if we did talk to you on Monday, though, my point was going to be we didn't know the status at that point of AJ Preller, whether he'd return or not. We thought he would. After the statement from Peter Seiler, Bob Melvin was really up in the air until the middle of last week. So now that we've had basically a week to process this, what is your reaction? I mean, it's not shocking, obviously, that these two will return, but how do you look at this off 2023, what the Padres are doing into 2024?
You reached out to me Wednesday to see if I would come on the show, and I had to politely decline. I was taking a day off. I was with the Twins, and I already had to do more work than I anticipated doing because I needed to listen to the AJ Preller Zoom. And then we put out a special episode or a bonus episode of the On Fire podcast. I
literally texted Jim. I'm like, oh, Darnay's doing an On Fire podcast. Interesting. No, sure. I have to come clean.
Look, I mean, this is our property, our responsibilities. I love helping you guys out, but I couldn't do it on that day. And if memory serves, the Twins were kind of having a meltdown at around 4:30 when you wanted to have me on. So it was a good thing that I, again, politely declined.
Who cares about Minnesota? I'm kidding. Carry on. Darnay's got Twins. Okay.
I don't know what to make. I don't think much has changed. I think that's my kind of big overall thing. Like we heard from AJ Preller, we saw the quotes from Bob Melvin. I think 30,000 foot view, this might be an oversimplification. I don't know if anything was said to lead us to think anything's going to be any different next year. And that might be fine if they suddenly hit 250 with runners in scoring position and aren't dreadful in extra innings and players play up to their capabilities. And it's Bob Melvin's last year in his contract anyway. He might be gone, and so does it fix any of these underlying issues that have been reported on that seem to be a thing? Certainly not. And nothing was said to think, hey, we're making some progress in this direction. And so I think, if they didn't get along, if like the dynamic wasn't awesome before, I don't necessarily think it's going to be awesome now, but they're both adults. They've been able to get through it a couple years. One of those years ended up being very successful. And so I think, you just hope for the best that the on-field product is good enough to quiet some of the other noise that tends to creep up when the Padres have seasons like they had this year.
And a few things from Friday, you know, what Dennis told Darren, which I thought was a great line. They have an uneasy truce heading into next year. And then,
which is not too different from you guys, right?
No, we have an uneasy truce every day.
We just don't even have a truce.
It's not even really a truce at all.
Right.
But, and then parlaying that with what Kevin said. And I feel like there's a lot of, and you see it on social media. We see it on social media, people coming at us for some reason, people throwing it out there, how these reporters are hacks and they don't know what they're talking about. And, you know, you have Kevin relaying, look, AJ acknowledged that when he discredited those reports on, what is it, Wednesday of last week, whenever he spoke to the media, that was wrong of Preller. And Preller admitted that it was wrong to Kevin afterwards. And I think there's a lot of things here where people think, see, they told us that everything's fine. Why are we believing these guys? Melvin and Preller both said to not believe any unnamed sources and everything is fine. When in reality, it's like, we all know it's really not. And they're kind of the two parents that want to get a divorce, but they're staying together for the betterment of the kids. But they don't sleep in the same room anymore. They don't hang out much. They're kind of just there, and they are being the parents that the kids need until they're done with high school.
Well, okay, a couple of things. I think we should play the sound because there's probably a lot of people on Friday that missed Kevin Acey with Jim because I was off, so nobody was listening. I'm kidding. But there's I missed. I still haven't heard that. I heard this bite. I don't know if I've heard the entire interview as of yet. But it is interesting. What came out of this to me, and this is about like anonymous sources, and we can react to this. But what is interesting to me is that you got like people that are like, I'm all for, like, I'm on Team Preller or I'm on Team AC. And I would just say this, and it's fair to have any opinion on it. I understand it both ways, but like, I don't think I'm dying on the hill of defending AJ Preller off this year. And you can have your opinion on whomever covers this team and reporters and anonymous sources. That's fine. But to die on the hill with AJ Preller off of this season, I'm not willing to do this. This was yesterday, Friday. Jim, Kevin Acey, Jon and Jim.
Hearing from AJ asked repeatedly about anonymous sources and, you know, things that were reported by you and others about this team inside the clubhouse and behind the scenes and relationships, you know, to just have it be dismissed from him and Bob just so candidly, like, hey, we don't care what anybody inside this organization thinks. How do you view that? How do you think, you know, do they truly feel that way?
That it's garbage.
Yeah.
What I understand is, and I'm defending them here, I understand you can't really respond. There is no win in it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I get that. Okay. But there is zero chance that they gave it no credibility. And I called out AJ privately. I called him later and said, that was garbage that you said that. You could have stopped that. You know, I can't address anonymous reports, but when you said there was no credibility, you know, that's not true. And that was garbage because you said that publicly. And if I were a different kind of reporter, like some are that want to win the press conference, I would have called you out on the press conference. And he said that he did not mean those did not have credibility, that the reports didn't, that he can't speak to, and he can't, like, you know, justify or, you know, legitimize anonymous reports. But I promise you, that they are addressing many of the issues, and they already have addressed many of the things that were brought up. And that they're, like, I think I've said here before, I know I've said elsewhere, I think that anybody who is close to me knows that I knew about a lot of this stuff for months and months and months. And just speaking for myself, and Dennis wrote about some stuff too, and I'm sure he feels the same way, that if it weren't real, we wouldn't have written about it.
That goes back to, it was a very good question, by the way, and I loved Kevin's response. Good job, Jim. I'll give you credit for something for a first time. It goes back to this idea, Darnay, and listen, we all work in this business, and you're in that clubhouse, and you're reporting on the team, but it goes back to this idea that why would you write this for anything other than, like, it being accurate? You know, like, why would Kevin do that to himself? He covers the team.
He wants clout.
He goes in the clubhouse. He doesn't get there's no $5,000 bonus off the story. There's no $25,000 raise off the story. If anything, I would think it might make his job more challenging to write that and go into the clubhouse the next day. So that's kind of my takeaway on it. Obviously, off of this season, there were issues, right? So I take the reporting as legitimate, but some people don't. Where do you land on it?
What I thought was really funny was AJ said what he said, not giving those reports credence or what have you. But we also know what CEO Eric Grupner said on the flagship, basically saying, yeah, we're not crazy about anonymous reports. And I'm paraphrasing, but essentially saying what was reported was true. And so you have the CEO saying, we're not crazy about it, but, we acknowledge it. And the president of baseball operations saying, oh, we give it no credibility. Well, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. And, I'm a little bit encouraged to hear AC say that he knows for a fact that they're addressing some of these things. And for whatever reason, I guess they don't feel comfortable getting into that with reporters. But that is frustrating. My role is obviously different, just like your role is different from the Dennis Lynn's and Kevin Acey's of the world. But I feel like there was a time where if these reporters at, these traditional outlets that, they have journalistic integrity and a process, and you might not like them, you might not be crazy about everything that they write and their perspective and opinions, but there is the understanding that they are diligent reporters that go about it the right way. And there is a process that goes into how they report these pieces. And there are check marks that they have to, check off before they can go and publish it. And, I haven't had behind the scenes conversations with Kevin Acey and Dennis Lynn about this, but I think I know enough about who they are and the work that they do. And they've, I know Kevin certainly with Darren has spoken about kind of, the inside baseball aspect to how he went about reporting that. And if you hear him talk about it, that like a lot of work was, went into reporting the way he did and making sure that there was enough to go with. And so I just feel like we're in this climate where people are just like, don't believe it. Anonymous sources, nothing to it. If anything is written that I don't like, I can just kind of write it off. But these guys aren't putting their name on something like that unless they really feel strongly about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of over trying to maybe convince people about what journalism is over the last couple of weeks here. If you're going to be thick-headed, then you're going to be thick-headed and you're never going to change your mind. You can take the most cynical person in the world, throw them outside and look up at the sky and say, hey, is the sky blue? And they'll tell you it's green. Like that's how I feel about people that I've seen on social media engaging with us or Darren or whoever on our, whatever we see, and you see it as well, Darnay, on any type of social platform, saying that these reports are stupid and written by a bunch of hacks. It's like, I'm done with that. I'm not going to try to convince you because you're never going to learn and you're never going to understand it. But the thing that you mentioned there that I thought was, and hearing it again, that I didn't really fully hear the first time around, and you mentioned it, is that they take these reports very seriously, or they have taken them very seriously, and they are addressing these reports. That is something that wasn't relayed. And who cares about the media? It's about the fans. Like, the fans want to know that you are at least taking these reports seriously and addressing these problems to try to fix them. And I thought the message that was relayed last week by not only Bob and AJ, like not only by AJ, but by Bob as well, is that these anonymous reports, who cares, right? And that was the problem with me. It's like, you guys where were you watching? Like, this season was really bad. Have you seen what this team was this past year? And you're not going to use this as an opportunity to sit down and truly talk about these serious problems that you guys have. And that's what I felt like last week was a kind of a little bit of a slap in the face of the fan base, kind of just discrediting these reports. But then hearing Kevin say that they're 100% for a fact, absolutely taking these reports seriously. It's like, I really wish I would have heard that from the GM instead of the person that has covered this team all year long.
I would say this too. Peter Seidler, in this statement that left a lot of questions and didn't answer a ton, and then we got more resolution as the week went on, did say, our current leadership team continues to have my full support. With the benefit of hindsight, he wasn't kidding, because they're back. And he said, I have asked them to perform a thorough assessment of our organization. Beginning today, we'll make changes necessary to play championship caliber baseball for our extraordinary fans. in 2024. The issue is no matter what they uncover, and I agree with what everyone's saying here, that they should take a critical look and they should make changes necessary. But you can only do what you're capable. I mean, what can you do if you're lowering your payroll and you're coming off an 82-win year?
You're not really changing much.
And your leader says, what is this, high school baseball and college baseball? What are you going to do? Hey, Manny, I need you to do this because we just did our critical assessment of the organization. And you said, what is this, high school baseball culture doesn't matter, paraphrasing. But we think it does. So to me, there's a little chicken egg in there. It's like when you have a bad year, you have a bad culture. And they probably do have a bad culture. It's been written about. That's not a surprise. But it's like when you lose, I've always said this, isn't it hard to have a good culture when you lose?
Name me one place that has a good culture when they lose.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So it's like the Padres are coming off a bad year, so then they have a bad culture. But if they turn it around next year, which is easier said than done, I think there's a lot of challenges, and it's not going to be easy to do. But like Darnay, like if you're not good, you've got a bad culture. If you're good, nobody writes about your bad culture. And that's what happened in 2022 with the Padres. But it all of a sudden changed. It's just a weird dynamic, and I don't know how you get to the bottom of it. Is my point.
And you make another good point in that the two words that rattle around in my head from Peter Seidler's statement are thorough assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And then AJ Preller said, well, I feel like everything about a lot about the Monday meeting was overblown. I know we said overblown on multiple occasions. Yeah. Bob and I had a similar type of conversation after the NLCS last year. And so you have the owner of the team saying thorough assessment, make the necessary changes. And then you have the president of baseball operations who's at the center of this whole, whatever you want to call it, drama, saying, oh, this is just a normal conversation that we have at the end of the year. There's so much like left hand, right hand. And I think like, yeah, it's a lack of clarity and transparency that I think makes it difficult, Jim, to your point, for the fans who are just trying to understand and make sense of all this. And they're going to ride for this team regardless, because we saw them do it this year. And there's going to be a sellout on opening day at Petco Park and then a bunch of days afterwards. And, you even see people on Padres Twitter joking about it. Like, I'm mad now, but I know I'm going to be like suited up and ready to go once opening day rolls around. You should do them the service of saying, okay, we hear this, we understand it. Here's our understanding of what was going on. These are the steps that we're going to take. And like, we take this stuff seriously rather than like having these like weeks of buildup with all these reports and then Seidler's statement and then just saying no credibility to it, overblown, essentially business as usual.
Yeah. I think fans want to know that you're taking the necessary steps to make sure that this doesn't happen again. That you understand there are problems and that you are, I'm not saying that they're not trying to fix problems, because I truly do believe they are, but it's to what extent are they going to go to fix these problems? Is it just a conversation of, hey, we need to communicate more? Like, is that good enough? Is it conversations about what to do with roster?
But just say that. I mean, just say, hey, we are taking this seriously, and there's a plan in place. You don't have to get into specifics with us, but even just to acknowledge, yeah, we feel like things got a little off kilter, and we're having some real conversations about how we can best operate.
Yeah, and that's the disappointment of last week, is that it didn't feel like that. It did not feel like that was the end of year message from the team at all. And even if they were lying to us, which essentially Preller was doing, and that what he has done in the past is give you not even close to a portion of the truth, but give you stuff to make it seem like nothing is truly as bad as what is being reported. And that was the most disappointing part of it all. And again, that's why it's like, maybe you shouldn't be speaking at all, AJ, because whenever you speak publicly to the media, it's a train wreck.
Yeah, but that's like expecting AJ to be someone other than himself.
I know.
It's like if you expect me to run a 5-minute mile and I run a 9:15 mile and be like, man, I really thought you were going to turn it around this time. Why would you expect anything else from AJ? I actually think where he doesn't typically take responsibility, he did in his opening statement, and Darnay, you watched it and listened to it. He did take a level of, he said, personally, I feel like it's a lost season. And I'm not going to make excuses for close losses. Or we're 82-80. Like no better, no worse. We were 82-80, and that's who we were. So if we were expecting the buck stops with me, I'm going to leave. This is it's never going to happen. Nobody's going to fire themselves. And we've talked about that repeatedly and a lot. So it's AJ Preller's team until someone else is in charge of baseball operations. Simple as that.
I do give him a lot of credit because there were, and I think we've all joked about it, like there are so many different excuses that can be made and narratives that can be spun based on like the run differential and the fluky nature of the season that I think we were all kind of expecting. And who knows, maybe it'll pop up in spring training. Members of the front office and the leadership team to say, actually, it wasn't all that bad. And AJ didn't do that. And I thought that was encouraging out of the gates. And I thought he did, like you said, take some kind of credibility or accountability early on in his first statement, but, didn't kind of build off of that. And so, they at least take the results seriously, like, hey, your record is who you are, whereas they could have kind of gone in a different direction. I told, I was looking this up, what would have made me feel a little bit better, or I think a lot better, and certainly as a fan, is if we had seen what we saw last year at the end of the season, Bob Melvin and AJ Preller sitting next to each other.
Yeah,
that would have spoken volumes. And if there was and again, this is pure speculation, and this is just me reading between the lines because that's all we can do, right? Mm-hmm. If those two guys really felt comfortable, staring down the bullets together, knowing that one's going to have to answer for the other and vice versa, and they might say things that make each other a little bit uncomfortable. If there was truly like this unified vision and like, yes, we're pulling in the same direction, all that, why in the heck did we not see those two guys sitting on the stage together, answering those tough questions together?
Just a hunch. I think that was all by design last week. That's just a hunch.
Well,
just a hunch.
And it lends credence to Dennis Lynn's reporting of it's an uneasy truce, or how he sees the situation heading into the offseason between 2023 and 2024. Darnay, thank you. Where can our listeners find this here tonight?
NBC San Diego Roku channel beginning at 9:00, the full hour with Darren and with you guys as well. So yeah, check out the NBC San Diego Roku channel. It'll air tonight at 9:00.
Darnay Tripp, NBC 7. Darnay, thank you.
Go Birds.
On the other side, we didn't even get into that. On the other side, can you be the best of a generation and not be very good in the postseason? That's next. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Hey guys, it's Schaefer, and I've been telling you all about our friends over at Windmill Farms. They are the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered during your work week for lunch. They've got you covered for your game day needs as well, because they've got everything you could possibly need, whether it's the organic farm fresh produce and meats, whether it's their amazing beer selection, incredible craft beer kombucha selection. Then they've got this full deli with the award-winning sandwiches we've been telling you about. Your 8th sandwich is free with the sandwich card, and they keep these prices incredibly low, especially when you consider their ingredients. They really take a lot of pride in keeping those prices low and using the best quality ingredients. So during your work week, make sure to get on over to Windmill Farms. They're centrally located off of Del Cerro Boulevard, across the freeway from Montezuma Mesa. Windmill Farms is family-owned. They've served San Diego for 20-plus years. You can visit windmillfarmsmarket.com. The reason to do that, they've got weekly specials. So check out their weekly specials on Instagram or at windmillfarmsmarket.com. And a reminder, make sure to shop local and shop at Windmill Farms.
All right, this update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Postseason playoff action underway today. We have the Phillies taking on the Braves. Phillies have a 1-0 series lead there. They also have a 1-0 lead in the game in the top of the second inning. D-backs and Dodgers, second game of tonight's doubleheader. The D-backs lead that series 1-0 after beaten up on Clayton Kershaw this past weekend. Rangers, they have a 2-0 series lead over the Orioles, and the Twins and Astros are tied up at a game apiece. Last night, 49ers blew out the Cowboys 42-10 to remain undefeated, along with the Eagles as the only undefeated teams remaining in the NFL. And the Aztecs, they are back in action this Saturday against Hawaii in Hawaii. 8 p.m. kickoff, 6 p.m. pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Everything you love about Mercedes, the style, the comfort, the tech, the choice is now available in electric. The vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. The choice is all yours. Learn more at mbusa.com/EQ.
All right, Raiders Packers tonight, San Diego Sports 760, pregame coverage at 4:45. So a short show for Jon and Jim. Jim just mentioned the baseball postseason. And it's impossible to ignore this, not like anyone was, but the Clayton Kershaw postseason struggles reaching a new level this past weekend where he allows 6 runs in a third of an inning. First pitcher in baseball history to allow 5 runs on 5 hits without recording an out as a starter or a reliever. A 4.5 career postseason ERA, a 2.48 career regular season ERA. It's as simple as this for me. You cannot be the best, whether it's certainly not all the time, but you can't even be the best pitcher of your generation if you have these types of postseason struggles consistently. Like, it's almost laughable at this point how consistently bad Clayton Kershaw has been in the postseason.
It's so funny already seeing the excuses from Dodger fans.
Bye week.
They had too much time off. What the heck?
The rules are stacked against us.
Like, give me a break. And now the Braves are dealing with it right now against the Phillies, who are red hot.
Orioles
are dealing with it. It's funny how the World Series champion last year, oh yeah, that's right, they had a bye. And they went 7-0 to the way to the postseason, to the way to the World Series. And they won the World Series last year against the Phillies, who didn't have any time off, but the Astros had a bunch of time off. So this notion that this time off is hurting the Dodgers, give me a break. Give me a break.
And how would that impact Clayton Kershaw? Because pitchers have 5 days between starts anyway.
I just think Clayton Kershaw, when the lights are the brightest and when fans are actually at the stadiums, he crumbles. I put out a picture, Clayton Kershaw in the postseason, burnt toast, like cooked. He's not good.
Accurate.
He's not a good pitcher in the postseason. He cannot deal with the pressure and the stress of a postseason game with fans in the stands. He just can't. Now, he was good in 2020, but I mean, give me a break. Like, there was barely any fans in the stands for the World Series. It was like half full of like 10,000 people. And on the way to the World Series, they're playing on a neutral field in Texas. Like, okay. And other than that, Clayton Kershaw has been really bad in postseason play. And I heard this discussion earlier today with like Darren, like, who would you choose? Would you choose Bumgarner or would you choose Kershaw? And that goes to the point of like, would you choose a player who won a World Series MVP and you have a World Series title and you have multiple titles? Or would you choose Clayton Kershaw, who has had a Hall of Fame regular season career, but in the postseason, he's very, very mid at best?
I mean, I would take the pitcher that performs under the brightest lights. And here's the thing, like, back to this point that like, you can't be the best if you're not the best in the biggest stages. I think you can be a great player like Shohei Ohtani and not get to a postseason. And I'm not putting that on Shohei Ohtani. And I'm not putting that on Mike Trout.
No.
But once you're in the postseason, you got to perform. Like, everyone knows Shohei Ohtani isn't going to single-handedly take you to the World Series. Same thing with Mike Trout. We get it. It's a team sport. But once you're in the postseason, he's had so many opportunities. And I'm with you on 2020. It's such an outlier. It's so bizarre. The whole year, let's be honest, we all lived through it. The whole thing was bizarre. And of course, the one World Series the one year that the Dodgers have won since 1988 would be in that really odd, bizarre year. Mm-hmm. And the one time Kershaw would live up to billing would be in that bizarre year. You look at every other year, he's never good. No. He hasn't had good World Series. He hasn't had good championship series. He hasn't had good divisional series. Like, this is up and down. It's one thing if he had made 50 appearances in his career and had a bad outing or two. Okay, that's possible. But to make these appearances, how many career appearances has he had? He's had 39 appearances in the postseason. He's got a 4.5 career ERA in the postseason. He's just been mid. So he's been great in the regular season, but for me, he can't be considered the best pitcher of his era with the postseason struggles he's had.
No, I agree with you there. He can't. He's the best regular season pitcher of his era.
Correct. But
he is not considered clutch or come up big in the big moment. He's, to his credit, and I'm not going to just completely bash Kershaw for his 4.5 ERA and because he gave up 6 runs in a third of an inning on Saturday night.
It would be easy to do.
He's had good postseason series. He's had good postseason games. He's had a couple good postseason series. I bet you if you look in there, they're all not horrible.
No, of course not.
Like, he's definitely had some outings where he is dominant, but that's not the point we're trying to make. The point we're trying to make is overall, Clayton Kershaw in the postseason, more often than not, is going to fail you if he's on your team and he's only been on the Dodgers. He is going to go out there and he is not going to give you the Clayton Kershaw of the regular season. He's going to give you probably the Clayton Kershaw of the postseason more often than not. He might throw in a couple outings there where it's like, okay, that's Clayton Kershaw, right? But a majority of the time, let's be real here, you don't want him pitching in big games because it's too risky, because he's going to eventually give up a big hit, give up a big home run, get blown up, like not give you any length. It's just not going to end well when Kershaw is out there majority of the time.
And we'll see what happens. I mean, it's one game. They're down a game to none. So who knows? They could win the World Series or they could be done in like a day.
Dave Roberts said he's going to pitch game 4. Hey,
if
Dave,
there is a game 4.
They have to get to game 4 first. You have to get to game 4 first before you can announce who's your starter is.
But this is all you need to know about the Dodgers pitching issues. Clayton Kershaw is starting game 1 for you off a bye week. That's the best you can do. Late 30s, Clayton Kershaw, who's been mid at best in the postseason, is starting game 1 of the postseason for you, and you think you're able to win the World Series, and maybe they do.
Don't you love it, though?
I have no clue what happens.
Don't you love it?
I mean, what's interesting is it's deja vu. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I mean, will the Diamondbacks win the series? It remains to be seen, but you have a bye last year, you win 100 games, you're out in the first round. You have a bye this year, you win 100 games, you're down a game.
Yeah. When we made our predictions for who we thought was going to win the World Series this year, or at least get to the World Series, I didn't even factor in the Dodgers. I don't even said the Dodgers name because their pitching is so just
their starting pitching is very blah.
That's why when you go to the postseason, you'll hear it time and time and time again from every smart baseball person out there. What is the number one thing and the number one most important thing in the postseason above all else? Pitching. If you don't have the starting pitching depth, if you don't have the bullpen, it's going to be very tough for you to win a World Series. It just is. Name me the last World Series winner that didn't have at least some form of dominant pitching.
I have no idea.
I mean, last year, Houston, okay, they look at their pitching staff, very good. The previous year, what was it? The Braves,
yeah, 2021.
Okay, their bullpen was lights out.
Well, their starting pitching was really good.
And the starting pitching was good as well. You have who else?
Yeah, Nationals built on starting pitching.
Nationals. Before that, then the Dodgers won. They had Buehler healthy. They had May. They had Kershaw. It's a fake season, but they still won. Previously, the Red Sox,
Astros.
Like the point is, all of these teams have really good starting pitching. The Dodgers, who they start in game 2? Lance Lynn.
I don't think it's game 2, to be honest. I think he was supposed to start game 3. Who is pitching tonight for the Dodgers?
Oh, Shelby Miller. Right? Is that his name? Bobby Miller. Sorry. I'm thinking of another Miller.
Lance Lynn had like a 7 ERA when they acquired him.
Yeah. I mean, Bobby Miller, 11-4 with a 3.76 ERA and 124 innings. That doesn't really scream game 2 starter to me.
It doesn't. With
that
the backs against the wall.
like 7-game series, that's your game 4 starter.
I mean, we'll see. To your
Maybe.
point, we'll see if Kershaw gets another chance in game 4. And even if he does, you think Dodger fans are looking forward to seeing that heading into the game?
Dude,
I don't.
They were throwing his jersey on the ground and lighting it on fire. Fans were leaving after the first inning of that game on Saturday night.
And what time did they get there? In the second inning?
So usually they're not there till the third.
Right. They got there in the second and they left in the first.
They made a big whip around Yui in the parking lot because they knew Kershaw blew it in the first inning. I mean, that was the most surprising game of the weekend, right? You could see Texas with the Orioles because the Orioles are very young and they got Bruce Bochy on the other side of the field. It's like, okay. You saw it with the Phillies, the run that they're on, and they've been there, the experience. Twins and Astros, I think Carlos Correa is one of the most clutch players in postseason history. And so you saw that in game 2. But the Diamondbacks just annihilating the Dodgers, I didn't see that coming.
Or did you? Based on everything we just said.
Maybe a little bit.
All right. On the other side, we're going to get to the best and worst of the sports weekend. Is that good? Still ahead, the wrap. We'll look ahead for San Diego State football. We're less than a month out from San Diego State basketball. Raiders, Packers tonight with pregame coverage on San Diego Sports 760 beginning at 4:45. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
What up?
Hi, Jim.
Hi, John. Thanks for the super, JD Gaucho. Appreciate it. He goes, Kershaw's, and I believe you're a Dodger fan, if I'm not wrong. Kershaw's October struggles are sad. You don't expect a multiple Cy Young winner and the league MVP to just consistently get knocked around.
Yeah, it's a trend.
Yeah,
it's not 1 year.
But yeah, that was like this is a known thing now. It's not like surprising.
Might be over it on the other side of 2020. Like I wasn't expecting to your point like a blow up. Yesterday, like what? Like, are you nervous in your 40th career postseason appearance?
I just think he didn't pitch well. I don't think. I think the nerves are like. I think he's so in his head and so mental.
True, I agree with that.
That once things go wrong, it's like sideways, bro.
Yep.
And that's just who he is. He's not a good postseason pitcher at all. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's going to be known more for his postseason struggles than anything else, I feel like.
Dude, he had a 2.46 again in the regular season. They know he only threw 130 innings, which is who he's become, right? 126 the year before, 121 the year before.
Yeah.
So they manage his innings, hoping to catch lightning at the bottom of the postseason. And other than 2020, again, that really short year.
He's beyond mid. He's beyond mid.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Thanks for the super. JD Gaucho, if you guys want to send super chats, we'll get in during the break. Make sure you like and subscribe. And we'll be back.
Thanks, guys. All right, is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend featuring Brock Purdy for Jim. That's next. All right, we've got chances for you to win $1,000 every day. Listen for the keyword, then enter it at sportssd.com. Presented by Loan Pronto. Stop paying insane rates on your credit cards. Loan Pronto can help you tap the equity in your home so you can be credit card debt-free in less than a week. LoanPronto.com. That is LoanPronto.com. We have Raiders-Packers tonight. 4:45 pregame coverage. Brent's ready. He's got his Raiders gear on. 4:45 pregame coverage tonight. San Diego Sports 760. Raiders and Packers coming up at 4. The wrap. We'll look ahead for San Diego State football and men's basketball in the 4 o'clock hour. But right now, let's get to this.
Is that good?
Wilcox, snapper, Huber, holder, from 29 yards away. Oh, he missed it badly. Kick on the way. Boswell. That's a winner.
The good and bad from the sports weekend.
All right, so the Miami Dolphins won again this past weekend, blowing out the New York Giants. The New York Giants are a pathetic team this year.
They're so bad.
They are beyond bad. I know they have a win under their belt because they beat the Cardinals.
And they came back from like 20-something down to do it. They're down in every single game by 20-something points.
Their first half touchdown of the season was this past weekend.
Was
Off
the
of pick six off of Tua, 100 yards. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown the first half all year long.
That's terrible.
They're a joke. But the story here is Miami. Miami, after the first 5 games of the year, have surpassed the 2000 greatest show on turf at the time, St. Louis Rams, for the most yards in NFL history. Is that good? And I liked Mike McDaniel after the game. He was asked about
that was our goal.
He's like, you know what? Coming in this season, our goal was to have the most yards ever after the first 5 games of the year.
Basically,
mission
accomplished. Okay, speaking of Miami, how about the college version of Miami? The Canes.
My God.
As bad of a loss, I'm a lifelong college football fan. I've never seen anything play out quite the way this game played out.
What the heck,
Under
man?
40 seconds to play with the lead. They could have kneeled on the ball, Georgia Tech, without a timeout. They elected to run a play. Shockingly, the tailback fumbled. 2 plays later, a 40-something yard touchdown throw. Georgia Tech shocks Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. A complete and utter failure.
Take a knee.
From a coaching perspective, Mario Cristobal today took full accountability for it. He didn't on Saturday night. So Miami finding the worst possible way to lose a college football game. Is that good?
That's no good. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
I didn't fully, because I was out Saturday night, but I saw it. I didn't fully grasp it until I actually watched everything that was happening. And I'm like, dude, there's like 34 seconds left. And all they had to do was take a knee.
Game was over.
Their lineman's like, what the F are we doing?
They were running plays on previous plays, by the way. The game was over.
It was over.
They could have just been kneeling on it for multiple plays.
And it's not like Miami's going to be in like playoff contention down the line to where they're like, oh, we need these extra, points or something against, lowly Georgia Tech.
Oh, they were undefeated.
Oh my God.
They were undefeated. All right, what else you got?
So bad.
Karma.
Bruce Bochy and the Texas Rangers have a 2-0 series lead over the 100-plus win Baltimore Orioles, beating the Orioles twice at Camden Yards. They've also swept the 99-win Tampa Bay Rays. They're undefeated so far in the postseason, likely heading to the championship series in Bruce Bochy's first year as manager there. Brent, is that good?
It is good.
I mean, just talk about adding more to your Hall of Fame resume with Bruce Bochy if they happen to make a World Series this year and win it.
Yeah, didn't need it, but the fact that he's doing it just proves, I mean, we've all known it, what he did in San Diego, specifically then San Francisco, and what he's doing right now with the Rangers. All right, Clayton Kershaw did set a record to his credit on Saturday. He is the first pitcher in the history of baseball going back to the 1870s to allow 5 runs on 5 hits to start an outing without recording an out. This is a starter or a reliever. So, Brent, is that good?
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me?
But it's he's the only one to ever do it in the history of the game.
I think actually, Brent, that is good because it's Clayton Kershaw on the Dodgers.
It's not good for Clayton Kershaw.
It's not
for
for
Dodgers,
him,
though.
But for all of us
It's
and
good.
everyone listening today,
Yeah, it's good.
it's great. Finally, that vaunted, scary, dominant Dallas Cowboys defense
Oh, here we go.
gave up 42 points last night to the Niners. The Niners just sat everybody with about 14 minutes left in the game. Brock Purdy just diced up that defense, throwing for 4 touchdowns. Brent, is it good?
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me?
Not for the Cowboys.
For the Cowboys, I mean, that was an embarrassing loss for the Cowboys.
It was, but I think it sets up what we all know, and we can get into this in the 4 o'clock hour as well. This could be deja vu all over again. San Francisco, Philadelphia, collision course. They'll meet in the regular season in Philly. Could they meet again in the NFC Championship game? Is San Francisco better equipped to face Philadelphia this time around? Presumably, if they have a healthy quarterback.
The question is, it's not about the 49ers. Are they better equipped? And hopefully they don't have a freak quarterback injury. That's not the question here, John. The question is, am I better equipped with the possibility of the 49ers and Eagles matching up again in the NFC title game?
You'll be fine.
Yeah, the question
And
is
them
Jim
losing.
going to get divorced before he even gets married?
Right. Will this end my marriage before I even get married?
Here's the thing. Aaron is not going to be, is Aaron really going to, how much is she going to care if the Niners beat the Eagles in the NFC title game?
She'll
probably
won't
see it as
be
like
as upset as
payback.
I would be.
And she'll be okay with it because
Yeah.
the Eagles last year beat the Niners in the NFC Championship.
And she has said, I just want to see you happy.
Okay, so she might even be rooting for the Niners. Now, would you be, of course, if the Eagles beat the Niners in the NFC Championship game, you'd be throwing things. And last year, it lets your first fight ever as a couple. So
I would
just start getting ready. Just
I know.
have a plan in place for late January, wherever this game is,
Yeah.
no matter what happens.
I know.
This year, just throw the nanny cam in the closet.
I know. Well, this year, if they play each other in the playoffs in the NFC title game,
You should all watch it together.
well, Claire and Josh won't be here. So that would be a good thing for the viewing purposes.
Will
of
you
everything.
watch that game with Aaron?
I
If
can't.
it's just you and Aaron?
No, I can't.
You can't do that?
No. I can't.
I kind of respect it.
I just I can't do it because I don't want to get upset around her and potentially get upset with her when she has nothing to do with it. So it's like best if we just watch it in separate places
Or go watch like Minions 3 or whatever you did last year in the second half.
Midway through the second half, I'll leave and I'll go watch the newest Marvel movie. That
Have you
comes out.
checked the movie release schedule for the NFC
Exactly.
I
Championship game?
should.
You really should.
I really should check to see if there's any new movies out that week that I can go watch if things go haywire again for the Niners.
Kind of hard to imagine a team other than the Niners or the Eagles at this point appearing in the NFC title
It
game.
sucks that they're both in the NFC. From like, if you're an objective football watcher, right? Because those potentially are the two best teams in the NFL.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves with that. Kansas City. It's hard to say Kansas City.
I said potentially.
I know, but I'm saying like it's not like if all of a sudden the Niners were in the AFC, they'd be like, "Oh, I wish we were going to Arrowhead as opposed to Philadelphia for the title game."
No, I just meant that you could be. This has happened before, where the NFC title game or the AFC title game was like the de facto Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm going at here. Is that if there's a potential here for the NFC title games to be like the de facto Super Bowl.
Dude, the winner of the NFC title game, if it's against Kansas City, will be an underdog in the Super Bowl. We can get into that on the other side, plus the wrap, Raiders and Packers pregame coverage at 4:45. Hour 2, Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Playoff action underway right now in Atlanta. The Phillies already having a 1-0 game lead over the Braves. Lead the Braves in game 2, 3-0 in the top of the third inning there. Bullpen is already warming up with Max Fried on the mound. Other games happening tonight, just one, D-backs and Dodgers. D-backs have a 1-0 series, or excuse me, a 1-0 game lead in that series. Other series happening in baseball. The Rangers have a 2-0 series lead over the Orioles, and the Twins and Astros are tied up at a game apiece. NFL last night, the 49ers blew out the Cowboys 42-10 to remain undefeated, along with the Eagles as the only two remaining undefeated teams in the NFL. And the Aztecs take on Hawaii this Saturday, 8 p.m. kickoff. 6 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Everything you love about Mercedes, the style, the comfort, the tech, the choice is now available in electric. The vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. The choice is all yours. Learn more at mbusa.com/EQ.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2, Jon and Jim. A bit of a short show. We have Raiders, Packers pregame at 4:45, Monday Night Football, right here on San Diego Sports 760. Full shows over the course of the upcoming week. We'll be in Vegas, actually, Thursday for Mountain West Media Day. Getting you ready for San Diego State basketball. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher, Lamont Butler, Gloria Navarez, the Mountain West Commissioner. I believe Mark Few from Gonzaga. San Diego State plays Gonzaga. Mark Few expected to join the show on Thursday as well from Las Vegas. We're watching the postseason, as Jim just said, Phillies and Braves. Listen, the trend so far, and we'll get to the wrap in a moment. The trend so far is these home teams in the divisional round, I think, are 1-5. An Astros win, and that's it.
The Astros win, that's it, yeah.
Now, to your point, last year the Astros with the bye won the World Series. And don't sell me on the idea that the format doesn't work for the higher seeded teams. You can't sell me on that idea. You just can't. What would you prefer, Dodgers? Like, you'd prefer to play another round? It doesn't make any sense to me. This format favors the higher seeded team, but it is baseball. There's no guarantee the higher seeded team moves on. That's kind of the point. So we'll see what happens. These series aren't over. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Dodgers, Diamondbacks. And again, last year the Astros won the World Series. So I'm not convinced. This whole woe is me. I don't like the format. We got a week off. That to me is just like yelling at clouds. It really is.
Yeah, it's stupid.
How about blame like allowing 11 runs to the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, be better. You have home field. You have the best. You have the best. Record in baseball. You had time to set everything up how you want it to be set up. Now, what I will say though is that there was a little bit of an advantage for the wild card teams this year, because once the sweeps of everybody happened, there was 2 days off before the division series. And I'm not saying that is this massive advantage for the wild card winners, but if you had a pitcher pitching on Tuesday, you can line it up pretty good for the series to have your guy pitch on Sunday and not have it just ruin your rotation, where the next time you would see your game 1 starter would be game 3 of the division series.
True. It kind of, but a credit to the teams that swept the series, because baseball can't do anything about that. Because what if game 2 went a different way? You can't move the games up. What if the series end up going 3 games? So I get, it's not a perfect format. It's a weird format. I mean, baseball's only used this format for 2 years. I still think the buys are preferable. You can't sell me on it any other way. I get it. Baseball's meant to be played every single day. Maybe there's some momentum to be had for teams coming in off wins. But, I mean, I'd prefer to have home field and set up my rotation to not have home field and not set up my rotation. Simple as that. Every day of the week.
Yeah. I don't want to hear any bitching. I don't want to hear any crying about it.
The Dodgers lost last year wasn't because the Padres were better. It's because they had a bye week. No, it doesn't make any sense.
Be upset with your team, not Major League Baseball. You can maybe say, well, Major League Baseball shouldn't have given the wild card teams 2 days off. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. You have home field. You should not have a week off ruin things. And it also goes to the point, the thing of like, maybe being a wild card team isn't the worst thing in the world.
It's definitely not.
But I would still, even though we have 2 postseasons of data so far now, depending on what happens in the rest of the series. The Braves could still win. Okay, the Dodgers could still win. The Orioles, even though it's unlikely, could still win, right? I still would want to have that home field advantage in a bye. I just would, because a 3-game series, I mean, I'd rather start your postseason off with a 5-game series than a 3-game series. That's just me.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't even want the chance of losing. There's a whole round they don't have a chance of not advancing out of.
Yeah.
Every other team has to play their way through. It's a little bit like March Madness. The winners of the first 4 sometimes have some momentum. It's not their first game of the tournament, and sometimes they take it with them. And maybe we're seeing that right now. But again, I'd prefer to get the bye than not get the bye. All right. Right now, let's get to this.
Well, either the Braves or the Doyers advance to the NLCS.
Well, as of right now, I would give just because the Braves and the Phillies game's already on and the Phillies are up 3-0, I would say the Dodgers have a better chance than the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because the game is going on between the Phillies and Braves right now.
Yeah.
If you asked me beforehand, I would have said the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're such a far and away better team. Not far and away, but they're a better team than everybody else. They're the best team in baseball for good reason. There's their depth, their pitching, their lineup, just better than everybody. But I would give it to the Dodgers right now over the Braves.
I agree with you for that simple fact. You're right. One team's down 1 game. The other team is down 1 game and 3 runs in the 3rd inning. Not to say Atlanta can't win this game against the Phillies, but you're facing Zach Wheeler as well. So this is not going to be easy. I mean, that would be shocking. Diamondbacks, Phillies, National League Championship Series. But then again, last year, Phillies, Padres was surprising. The 5 seed against the 6 seed. So there's parity in baseball. Everyone understands that. Even the very good teams can lose to teams that aren't very good. And these are good teams. I mean, the Phillies are a very good team. The Diamondbacks had a good finish. So, I mean, there's a likely scenario right now. You get Diamondbacks, Phillies in the National League Championship Series, as crazy as that sounds. Next question.
Is Brock Purdy an MVP candidate?
Yeah, at this point in time, he is. For sure. He's on one of the best teams in football, maybe the best team. He has the highest quarterback QBR, not quarterback rating. Quarterback ratings are kind of weird. It's about QBR now. He's the highest QBR in the league. He is completing 72% of his passes. No interceptions this year. He has 9 touchdown passes and 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, yeah, I think if he keeps this up, like here, say the Niners go
15-2,
15-2 or 14-3.
Mm-hmm.
Brock throws for over 4,000 yards, has 31 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Is that MVP numbers?
Yeah, probably, because the team is 15-2. And
what if the Dolphins go 13-4?
Well, that's the right. The caveat is if Tua's numbers are so like absurd,
5,000 yards, 45
then
touchdowns,
he can overcome a worse record. Absolutely. But the Dolphins are not going to play like this all year, will they?
They have the disciple of Kyle Shanahan as the head coach, and if they don't have any injuries, I think it depends on what their record is, because they got blown out. The one good team they played this year, I don't really know if they've played anybody else, but they went to
Buffalo.
They went to Buffalo. They got blown out. They played all these other teams, I feel like, that are not good, and they've blown them off out of the water. But the one team that they faced that was good, they got their ass kicked.
The question is, how gaudy are the stats? If the stats are absurdly better than Purdy in yardage and touchdowns, and the records are comparable, like 14-3 to 11-6, he'll get it. If the numbers aren't as gaudy for Tua by the end of the year, then it's going to go to Purdy, is how I would look at it. I mean, if Tua's got 1,500 more passing yards and 20 more passing TDs.
Oh, that's not even,
that's a possibility.
What about 10 more passing TDs and like 1,000 more?
Then
yards?
It'll be close. Then it could go to Purdy.
Depends on what, it depends, because are we going to reward the best team in the NFL or reward
the best stats?
Or the best stats?
Yeah. All right, next question.
Who needs tonight's Monday Night Football game more, the Raiders or the Packers?
The Raiders, 100%.
They've only got one win, right?
They have one win. I think they're 1-3,
and they're at home, right?
They're at home.
The home team with one win has to win the game.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo has not looked good at all this year. He leads the league in interceptions, by the way, and he has missed a game.
They've only played He's only played 3 games.
Well, maybe it's different after last night,
right?
But as of heading into week 5, he led the league in interceptions. It's interesting how everyone's like, "Oh, Jimmy G." Anyway, another discussion. The Raiders were trying to win. They have Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. They give the money to. They got Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, they're trying to win. I don't know if the Packers going into this year were like thinking, "Hey, let's try to like make a run."
They were.
Well, they wanted to have Jordan Love.
They thought they were going to win the division,
be their new guy and test things out. I think the Raiders had bigger aspirations than the Packers going into this season. It's definitely way more important for the Raiders.
Yeah, you're pushing like coaching change time. If in Vegas again, another disappointing year, Josh McDaniels 1-4 start. If you can, I mean, at some point they're going to need to do it, or they're not going to do it. At 1-4 start, losing at home to the Packers would be a disastrous, terrible, awful, no good start. Who have they beaten?
Great question.
Next question.
I don't know.
Someone.
What's the biggest question facing the Padres heading into the offseason?
For me, it's what are you going to do with Juan Soto? Is Juan Soto going to 100% be on this team next year or not? And there's so many questions. I could go multiple ways with this. But I do think the biggest question with the Padres is like, is Juan Soto actually going to be on this team next year, or are you going to entertain trading him? Because if you're going to entertain trading him, what's that going to look like? Also, are you going to maybe entertain signing him? Like, there's a lot of things that could happen here with Juan Soto in the offseason.
Broncos?
Yes, the Broncos are the one.
They beat the Broncos by a point. Great season.
That's right. Good job.
Here's my biggest question for the Padres heading into next year. Is the uneasy truce? Is the dynamic between Preller and Melvin that's been discussed at length for weeks and weeks, and now the entirety of this 1 week off season? What happens when it gets tough? Mm-hmm. It's going to be fine if they start 6-3 and then they're 16-13. As long as things are going relatively smooth, it's not going to be a huge issue. If the Padres start 3-7, if the Padres start 3-7 next year, nobody wants to see it, then what on earth is going to happen, and what are people going to be saying? Mm-hmm. And obviously, at that point, you're going to be discussing Melvin's future, Preller's future. So they need to do everything in their power to get off to the 2021 start, not the 2022 start. You can overcome average play in the middle of the year, but you can't overcome a slow start potentially because of this weird dynamic, this uneasy truce, as Dennis Lynn put it, between AJ Preller and Bob Melvin.
I know going into this season, me and you, I think we're the only people in this town that we were not on the it's early bandwagon.
Yeah, we were like, put your foot on the gas pedal now.
Like, just go to like overdrive, like Fast and the Furious, like press the Nas button. Yeah. Like, let's get this thing going here. I know he doesn't understand that reference.
Nas?
No, like
not the rapper, the stuff that makes cars go faster.
Yeah, like Nas.
Gas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not Nas, but Nas. Like vroom vroom.
What?
Anyway,
let me Google it.
It's spelled the same.
Is it?
Stop, you'll
yeah, just do Fast and Furious Nas.
Okay.
Did you find it?
No. Okay. But whatever.
Anyway, as I was saying,
put a Nas CD in, John, it makes their car go faster.
We were the only ones in this town that were not on the it's early, these games don't matter. Not matter, but these games, like talk to me and blah, blah, blah. And it's April games. Like, are we going to put, no, we put a lot of stock. Like,
yes,
look, did we acknowledge that it was technically early? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we were also upset about it and thinking to ourselves and talking about it. Hey, you guys need to put your foot on the pedal here because you're expected to win like 98 games this season. So what are we doing? Like, why do we have to ease your way into this thing? Like, can we put your foot on the gas pedal and get this thing going at any point in the season. And they never did it.
I will literally have no faith in the Padres if they get off to another slow start, because you're not going to be able to say, well, remember they got off to a slow start last year and they turned around. No, they didn't. So, like, there's one option for the Padres to have a good year next year, the way I look at it, heading in, and it's with a good start. I don't see the 13-17 start, even though there's an expanded wild card and there's a lot of baseball games, going smoothly. You get off to a slow start, you know what you rule out immediately? Winning the division. So you rule that out, and then you get off to a slow start, and, like, do you have faith that they can, like, right the ship with the dynamic of clubhouse, Machado leading it, front office, Preller leading it, and this interesting intermediary in between and Bob Melvin, who would be in a lame duck year? I wouldn't have a lot of faith in that.
They're not the Dodgers. They are not the Phillies. Two teams that have shown, if we get out to slow starts, at any point, boom, we can win 20 of 23. And the Padres have never done that. Like, yeah, they did it this year when it didn't matter.
September 17th, yeah.
And they did it when it didn't matter against the worst teams in baseball. It didn't matter. That's something that I don't know if the Padres can do when it matters, because they have not shown that, like, at all, to have a stretch where it propels them to play 600 baseball for an entire, like, second half, or 650 baseball for a second half of a season.
That's why Machado's health also is crucial, because if he's not healthy to start the year, and by the way, there's reasons to believe he will be, because it's a 4 to 6 month recovery. So if nothing else, hopefully DHing, he's got to start fast. We've seen Machado start slow, and then, like, the whole thing starts slow, and it's just uphill. And he's got to bounce back. And it's not easy coming off a real injury. He's not a guy that has suffered a lot of real long-term injuries in his career. He has in Baltimore, had the knee, bounced back from that, obviously. But, like, his first month is going to be a big first month. It's like Tatis, when we first saw him back from the wrist and the shoulder, like, the whole year there were highs and lows for Fernando Tatis Jr. We need to see Manny Machado MVP caliber next year, not Manny Machado what we saw in 2023.
You know what I don't want to hear next year?
Excuses?
Well, that too. I don't want to hear back of baseball card numbers.
Right. From Manny.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that's baseball. I don't want to hear, hey, you better jump on the bandwagon now, because we'll start when we start raking here whenever we do. I don't want to hear any of that crap. I want to hear a mindset from day one in Korea.
I agree with you.
First, the Dodgers.
We got to go.
We are going full speed. Also, with the understanding that, yes, it is a long year.
No doubt.
And there's going to be ups and downs. No question about it. But, I mean, how many ups and downs did the Braves have this year? Now, they're obviously going through a problem right now with the Phillies in the postseason. But I'm talking about just regular season alone. The Braves put their foot on the gas pedal, and it propelled them to 100+ wins, best record in the National League throughout the entire season, setting record after record. I want that from the Padres next year from day one. I don't want to hear any easing our way into it. I don't want to hear, and Blake Snell will not be on this team, so we can't hear the excuse from him, because that was always his excuse why he always started seasons bad was, I always start seasons bad. Well, why can't you start a season good? Like, why can't you start a season where it's just go, go, go? You have a 20-8 record to start the year, and you don't let up.
To your point, and it was different because September is in April, and I take nothing away from their finish. But if we could, for a moment, entertain the idea that they started 14-2 and didn't finish 14-2, everything's different. Completely. If you start 14-2, the odds of you going through the adversity the Padres faced this year are much lower. I mean, just you can overcome so much more adversity by starting the season plus 12, 12 games over 500. Tampa did it. They had that amazing start. They just rode it all year long. They weren't the best team in the American League, and they're out, but at least they got to the postseason. They won 99 games. So there's a big difference for me with the way the Padres finished as opposed to starting a year like that. Go prove it to us to start next year. Start fast.
And it's always difficult because say they do start fast, right? Say they do have this magical regular season. Well, so far, history has shown the past 2 years, Now, I agree. We've said there. I'd rather have them have that type of regular season than fighting and clawing in the end. But fighting and clawing in the end and being the 5th seed with like 88 wins,
you're like
has kind of proven to be the formula that you want to have going in the postseason for the last 2 years.
Got the right mindset. We say that, but again, Houston did win the World Series last year.
They did.
Listen, you're 100% right. Do I think it's good? Even if the Padres have that special year next year, do I think anything's going to be easy not in the postseason? None of this is easy.
No.
We're talking about AJ Preller in his 10th year. None of it's been easy.
No, that isn't.
And the idea of them even entertaining a bye for 2024, give me a break. We're nowhere near that point based on what we just saw in 2023. All right, 4:45, our pregame coverage will begin. Raiders, Packers, Monday Night Football, right here on San Diego Sports 760. Much more to get into. MLB playoffs, Padres offseason. Looking ahead for San Diego State this weekend at Hawaii, a must-win for the Aztecs. Also looking ahead to San Diego State basketball, less than a month out for the Aztecs. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, what's the path for San Diego State to a bowl game? Plus, looking ahead to the Aztecs men's basketball team taking the floor in less than 1 month. That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Playoff action going on right now in Atlanta. Phillies have a 3-0 lead over the Braves, bottom of the 4th inning there. Of course, the Phillies have already a 1-0 series lead there, 1-0. Game 2 of the D-backs in Dodger series later tonight at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers are trailing that series 1-0. NFL last night, the 49ers beat the crap out of the Cowboys 42-10, even though Micah Parsons doesn't think the final score was indicative of how the game actually went. 49ers remain undefeated, along with the Philadelphia Eagles are the only 2 undefeated teams remaining in the NFL. And the Aztecs are back in action this weekend against Hawaii on the road, 8 p.m. kickoff. 6 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. The boundlessly capable all-electric EQ SSUV from Mercedes-Benz with available transparent hood technology so advanced it can see through sheet metal. The vehicle is all-electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. Learn more at mbusa.com/EQSSUV.
What'd you say?
Sheet metal.
All right, Raiders-Packers, 15 minutes right here on San Diego Sports 760. Did I bury the lead, Brent?
I don't know.
What's the lead?
Is the lead that we've got a giveaway today?
No, we can do it tomorrow.
All right, no giveaway. No buried lead. All right, the lead should be, listen to this controversy brewing right now. We're going to get to the Aztec Rewind in a second. Darnay, if you're listening, Darnay Tripp, NBC7 Sports Wrap, earlier the show. He joins us basically every week. Listen to this, Brent. Darnay, our buddy Darnay, quote unquote buddy, is not following Jim on Twitter.
This is a
now, he follows
controversy.
He follows me and he follows Jon and Jim, the show.
It is a controversy.
He's not following Jim. Why?
Hold on.
Is this just like how Annie was following? Which one of you was? Was it you weren't following Annie?
I wasn't following Annie. That was very odd.
That was very awkward.
We overcame it.
It was awkward.
Well, it's not as awkward as that bracketology guy that John doesn't follow, that he's so afraid we're going to tell him that he doesn't follow him?
Yes, Ken Palm.
Yes.
No, I don't have a membership. Right.
Because you're soft.
So it's interesting. So you're calling out Darnay for
100%.
not following you to kind of force him to follow you.
100%.
Is that good etiquette? I think it is. That's how close we are. Like, you wouldn't call out, like, for example, I'm not calling out Kevin Acey every day because he doesn't follow me. I don't think he does.
Doesn't follow me either.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
But Kevin doesn't really use Twitter anymore to interact with anybody.
It's to post his articles.
It's just to post his articles, and I don't blame him. I would, if I were him, I wouldn't touch social media at all.
So okay, so that's okay.
That's
Kevin
fine.
doesn't need to follow us.
No, he doesn't interact at all, and I
Okay.
understand it.
But Darnay, we
bro.
thought we had a different relationship.
I see how it is. I see how it is. This
will be interesting to see what he says.
That was interesting because he didn't understand it at first. He didn't realize what I was showing him, and then
Right, you screen grabbed it.
Boom.
It didn't say that Darnay follows you. You got mad. Let's see how he replies. All right, Raiders Packers coming up in about 10 minutes right here on San Diego Sports 760. Pregame coverage at 4:45 right now. Let's get to this. All right, so let's get into this, Jim. Off a bye week at Hawaii this upcoming Saturday. This is the path to a bowl game for San Diego State. They're riding a 4-game losing streak for the first time in 15 seasons. They need to win 4 of their final 6, at least. Hawaii this weekend on the road, they're a favorite, a 6-point favorite right now. Have to win the game, obviously. Nevada at home is winless. I think they've lost something like 12 in a row going back to last year, maybe more than that. Utah State at home is homecoming. Then it's at Colorado State, at San Jose State, home for Fresno State, which lost, by the way, this weekend at Wyoming. So is there a path, Jim Russell, in your opinion, for San Diego State to win 4 of its final 6 games or not?
I mean, there's a path, but can they actually accomplish that?
That's what I'm asking.
I don't know. I can say there's a path, but I don't have much faith right now. Now they are playing, I mean, UCLA and Oregon State, who's one of the best, teams in the Pac-12. They're really good. Those were kind of you understood, like, okay, yeah, it was disappointing for sure. But then you get to Boise State, who is not something to write home again, for, and you get to Air Force, and the way that you got manhandled by Air Force was concerning. So with whoever they play, there is no chance after seeing the last 4 games they have played that I can confidently say that this game's a win or that's a layup or that, whatever. Like I have to see it now to believe it, because they are in some territory where things, if this doesn't turn around like now, they could get ugly this year.
So again, I think to get to 6, Jim, I think you got to win in Hawaii, and then I think you got to win those 2 home games back to back, Nevada and Utah State. You'd be 5-4 if that happens. And then you need 1 at Colorado State, not easy. At San Jose State, I wouldn't call it easy, even though the Spartans have really struggled win-loss wise. And then Fresno State, of course, is not easy with the way the Bulldogs have played this year. So can San Diego State get to 6 wins? We'll find out over the next 7 weeks. Then there's the Aztecs basketball team, as Darnay replied. There's the Aztec basketball team 4 weeks from tonight. Opening night, Viejas Arena. 4 weeks from tonight, Cal State Fullerton, 7:30 Pacific, San Diego Sports 760, FS1. I mean, as a must-have ticket, as big of an event in San Diego as you're going to really find, right? Like opening night at Viejas, off a national championship game. That's kind of rarefied air in terms of San Diego sporting events in recent history.
It is. You get a banner raisings.
Yeah.
You get the hero returning.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just coming back as an alum. He is actually still on the team.
Right.
And he's one of their leaders and captains and one of their best players. It's going to be a night to remember. And this team could potentially be really good as well. So that to me, it's going to be special. It will be special to watch and see. And every time you go into Viejas now, anytime Dutch brings any recruit, boom. See that? Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
See that? National championship game. National championship runner-up. I mean, if you want to use that mentality, well, they didn't win the national championship. Give me a break. All right. Yes, we're all disappointed. And yes, it sucked. But like, it's different. Okay. It's different. So yeah, that right there is going to be something that will be there forever. And it'll be cool to see.
Your Eyes Take Rewind, where we look ahead, brought to you by Windmill Farms, the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered for all your game day needs, featuring organic, farm-fresh produce and meats, an amazing craft beer selection, plus a full deli with award-winning sandwiches. Check them out at windmillfarmsmarket.com to see their weekly specials. Again, windmillfarmsmarket.com. Has Darnay replied?
We have breaking news.
You have breaking news, or is it related to Darnay?
It's related to Darnay.
Okay, what do you have?
He's followed me. But
come on, Darnay, that's so soft. Come on.
He said, whoops, all fixed. Don't make me regret this.
He probably already does.
Probably already does. Don't worry, you'll regret it.
And then what do you say in parentheses? I don't get it. Do you?
I don't get it either. Is that even English, Darnay?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so you pressured Darnay into following you. He's now following you. Do you feel good?
I feel great.
It's like when you like tell your girlfriend, like, it would have been nice if you got me dinner,
if you cooked more,
and then she's like, okay, I'll cook for you. But like, no. Like, I want it without you spurring me on.
Yeah, I did do that. I feel bad.
You told Aaron to cook for you?
No.
What happened?
There was a stretch. I kind of mentioned, I was like, oh, maybe one of these nights, you could, because I cooked, I cook every night.
Dude.
I mentioned that to Aaron. It didn't go. It was like, I felt bad because she works way longer days than I work.
No, she has longer than 3-hour days. I find that hard to believe.
She has a real job, John. She actually, is in at 8 a.m. until around 5 p.m.
Oh,
it's a real job, unlike us, which we talk about sports.
So wait, she only works like 45 hours a week and still isn't cooking dinner every single night? Oh,
and Jim. And she goes, Jim, your Ken job is dinner.
Your Ken job,
like Ken? I'm just Ken.
Yeah,
from
like
Barbie.
Ken,
like,
yeah,
what's your job? My job is dinner.
Okay,
so like that's what I do. I'm dinner.
You are dinner. All right. If you missed anything today, we've got Raiders Packers coming up next. Pregame coverage, Monday Night Football right here on San Diego Sports 760. If you missed anything, speaking of long out, can you do dinner tonight, Jim? Coming in at 3 and leaving at 4:40. Can you possibly cook tonight for Aaron? If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on YouTube. Search for Jon and Jim 760. Find us on social at Jon and Jim. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. We're back tomorrow at 3. Monday Night Football next on San Diego Sports 760. Okay.
Peace out. Bye.